Welcome to Radio B2B, the only truly free, unbiased and open internet radio platform for business in Africa.
It's my absolute pleasure now to be speaking with Chantal Kading, who is the founding member and the managing director of The People's Shop. She is presenting at the SAPEX conference coming up between the 4th and the 7th of June, and her topic is crafting your professional supply chain brand equity. Chantal, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Your topic is crafting your professional supply chain brand equity. What do you mean by that?
I think for me, brand equity, in the good old days, we would have called it about your reputation. If your name is mentioned in industry, what do people think? Is there a positive association or is there a negative association which by default harms your personal brand? I think what I always said, in the good old days, it was about what you know. I don't believe it's any longer about what you know. It's more relevantly, I would say, about who you know, and then take it one step further, it's who knows you. And again, what do they know about you? And that's the thing where the concept comes about, is what is your brand equity? What is the impression, what is the association people have when they mention your name? We find oftentimes doing recruitment that when we mention a certain person, a leader's name from an organization, people say, if that's a leader, I'm there. I'm happy to leave my organization, grow through this change process because the association and the value I attach to that leader will make me change. Same thing can be said for companies, etc., and also for individuals. And it's about allowing people to take a conscious approach and a proactive approach to their careers and saying, how do I take ownership and proactively drive the brand equity or the reputation of myself in industry, in my organization, and even beyond that.
So, but you're talking about the brand of the company, as opposed to what is inherent in your topic, which is the brand of your supply chain, which really is a function or a feature of your company, but not necessarily the same thing as your company's brand, or is it?
I think that my focus is a lot more about the individual brand equity. So yes, brand equity I think is oftentimes associated a lot more with companies. And for me, it's about saying is what is the individual's brand equity? So in terms of you as a brand, for me, it's about there's a guy called Glenn Lopez who says you are your most immediate and ongoing opportunity. If you are looking at Me Incorporated, you as the brand, you as the business, you as the CEO of you and your organization, what would you differently? Oftentimes people wait for businesses or their leaders to shape their career or guide them or open opportunities for them. And I think in the current market, it's a lot more about the individual taking responsibility for their own career, figuring out what their purpose is, what their values are, and according to that, making career choices for themselves, and in many cases, proactively, I would say, hunting the opportunities and crafting or going out to look for the things they actually want as opposed to just waiting for life for it to be given to them.
So you're really talking about the saleability, the brand, the marketability of the individual, a practitioner who is a supply chain practitioner. And you're really saying to that individual, if you package yourself properly, if you brand yourself effectively, you're more saleable both within your company, but quite frankly, within the industry, the sector, and in the economy as a whole.
Absolutely. In our business, I've always said is that I might be one small person in one business, but if I'm affecting or putting, let's say, strong talent into an organization, and they're being led by a very strong, proactive leader, and that leader can change one department. That department influences a business. That business is part of an industry, is part of an economy. If you're in South Africa, I believe very strongly that either part of the problem, part of the solution. And I believe one person can change things. And you made a very valid point. I feel very strongly about the elevation of the supply chain profession. And each person individually has a big contribution to be made in terms of the brand equity or the reputation of supply chain to the greater economy and business at whole. And if each person takes a proactive view to their career and the reputation they build in this industry, by default, they will uplift the profession, which we're trying to drive for. I think many people are in the industry, is driving professionalization of the supply chain discipline.
So what you do is you sell people, and you sell people who are capable of packaging themselves, beneficiating themselves with training and development. Do you think that if there was a series of professional levels of recognition of people in the supply chain sector out there, so that supply chain practitioners could label themselves and be labeled as professional, do you think that they would be more saleable, that they could demand a higher price for their services, more respect for their services?
I do think so, but I think for me it goes in beyond that. I think there's so often, I think in a 15-year track record servicing the supply chain industry, that supply chain professionals have had to, what I would say, fight for their place in the sun. I would say around a common braai, if someone asks me what do I do, and I say in the people industry around supply chain management, no one knows what that is. If I say I'm a CA, they automatically know that I'm an accountant and don't question me any further. And I think it's so important for supply chain professionals to have that almost license to practice and to be able to not be recognizable, but to be able to, I think, for the profession to be known by industry about what they can do. And I think there's so much elevation in many spaces that I have seen pockets where supply chain is being elevated, where it is getting board agenda, and that by default I think is good for the profession. It is good for people's careers. I think in terms of career development, there is oftentimes, they say in accounting, you know which way you're going to go. There's a very clear career path. In terms of supply chain management, it's like mountaineering. There's 20 different million ways to get to the summit because people come out of this industry from so many different routes. But being able to have that longer and more defined career path is, I think, what professionalization will bring by default. And as we elevate the profession, I believe it will be good for people's individual careers, their own personal mastery, and also by default in terms of their financial rewards at the end of the day.
Now, that's my next question. Does brand affect your salary? Does it affect the grade? Does it affect your remuneration package?
For me, it's a tough question to say because I think from where my philosophy about careers is about greater purpose. And I think we all live for different values and trying to get different things out the day. And I think your financial rewards is definitely part of what we do. But I think there's, for me, a greater need I think a need coming amongst a lot of people today. It's not about just what I earn, but what I do. And what I do, does it actually matter? Does it actually contribute in a bigger way? If you look at the human needs, I think making a contribution, leaving a legacy at the end of the day, I think those are very important factors coming through, not just the financial rewards part.
It's been absolutely fascinating talking to you, and I'm looking forward to hearing you talk, and hopefully you'll be able to come and listen to me talk on the professionalization of the industry and creating a professional body for the industry, because there's, I think, a lot of simpatico between what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to your talk, and I think it's I share the same passion in terms of professionalizing our industry. I think it's so needed, and like I said, each person, I think, in some way can contribute to that, and I think your thoughts around it, I think, will just be a great platform to start that debate and elevate the profession going forward.
Thanks so much for chatting to me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Bye-bye.
The Radio B2B Weekly News Review.